Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Kendra Kobler and I'm your Moonshot host. Please introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know where you're dialing in from. And quick logistics, please stay on mute if you're not speaking. And I'll be muting everybody now. So welcome to the April full moon celebration. Thank you for joining us today to bring our Wellness Moonshot mission to life. As you might already know, the term moonshot originally came from President John F. Kennedy's mission to land a man on the moon in the 1960s. Our equally as ambitious goal is to create a world free of preventable disease. Today's topic is plan, and we will discuss how we can create healthier futures for the next generation, and also look ahead at what wellness trends are resonating and gaining traction in the wellness world. The Global Wellness Institute brings together many thought leaders and wellness pioneers that help drive and shape this mission and the future of wellness. You might recognize some familiar faces here. Because expanding our reach is a top priority, we track our Moonshot metrics closely. In the past month, we've grown by 60 new individuals and organizations, impacting over 25,000 new people. Our 2022 goal is to double these figures. And while it seems like we're far, I do want to mention that half of these people who've signed up for the Moonshot have claimed they can only impact between 0 to 20 people, and I'm calling their bluff. Let's say these people could actually impact 50 to 100 to more, whether it's friends, family, coworkers. This seems more realistic and motivating. Perhaps we're closer than we think. I do want to mention that our full moon celebrations will become quarterly. So we will meet again in June, and then September and December. This will give us some time to get in touch with these Moonshot participants so we can all plan and strategize how to reach many more. Our approach this year involves storytelling, and in that spirit, Renee Moorfield, the CEO of WisdomWorks and GWI Advisory Board member, is interviewing a new leader each month to explore wellness from fresh angles. This month, Renee has interviewed Christine Clinton, who's on this call, the Wellness for Children, from the chair of the Wellness for Children initiative. I'm going to share a snippet of their conversation where they discuss the importance of planning, structure, routines, for children, yes, but certainly applicable for all ages. And they touch on what gets in the way of planning and how we can find a new normal after pandemic disruptions. So just give me one moment. I'm going to switch over to the video. All right. So I'm about to play the video for about 6 to 7 minutes. And while the interview is playing, I encourage you to comment and interact and share your own thoughts in the chat on plan.
From the very beginning. And the more we can plan for our children,
let's see if the visual
the better it is for them, because even toddlers need a plan.
It's just working.
Specifically for eating and drinking and playtime, because if they have an expectation, then they're able to model their own behaviors around what they're seeing. If there's chaos in the household and there's no routine, it really gives the child a sense of, I guess, unknowing, because there's no real set plan as such. And I personally had to really learn about transitioning children from one thing to another, because my firstborn son had learning differences and he did not transition well. So I had to learn what the benefits of a plan and sticking to the plan, because that wasn't necessarily easy for me. I came from a bit of a crazy Irish household where I was born and raised with 7 of us in one house. So for me, learning to be a mom that could plan and that could stick to the plan, I could understand the importance of how it impacted him and his behaviors, really was beneficial to me. And of course, now that I chair the Wellness for Children initiative, I'm able to draw on some of those personal experiences to say, actually, this is really a good, I think, thing to do. And of course, being part of the Global Wellness Institute gives you so much access to specialists and people who have been studying this for a long time. So we're able to cherry pick the data that we've been grateful to receive and to apply it then in some of our recommendations when we put wellness programs together for children and for parents, how best to really manage and plan your day for your child. Because if they're getting enough sleep and they're eating at the same time every day and they have playtime every day, and they know when it's homework time, for instance, for the older children, their body adjusts to that and their mind adjusts to that because they know it's going to happen, and it really helps everybody to have a happier home, a less chaotic home, if everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing at any one time during the day.
That's wonderful. What everything you're describing all the way through the life cycle to me sounds like how do we create an environment that is psychologically and physically safe and nurturing for this being's development and growth, and that may look different. There may be some principles like sleep, structure, good nutrition, movement and exercise. So there's some basics: not smoking, reducing or not drinking. Um, but I imagine, just like as you found with your own child, there are some differences as well, like really trying to understand that unique being as that
Yes,
being is growing and what they need that might be a little bit different
yeah,
than their brother or their sister
sure.
for them.
Well, we're seeing that with neurodiverse children, that we have to be flexible, but the one thing seems to be a common denominator, and that is having structure and routine.
Okay, I was going to ask you that. If there is a common denominator
Yeah.
across children, what are we finding? And that is
Yeah.
structure and routine. Okay.
Planning is the thing. If you can plan the day around, the best time the child will eat, this is their best time to eat, this is their best time for sleeping. For children who might have sensory issues, we know that some things work and some things don't, but having the plan to know exactly how the day will unfold, it always gives the child a sense of calm because they know what to expect. And it teaches them life skills too, like time management. They
Mm.
know how long it takes to do something if they're doing it the same time every day in the same way. So it helps them life skills for the rest of their life.
So, what gets in the way of us doing this? Because I think even as an adult, I think sometimes, um, I may want to achieve something, but I don't always get to the plan, and then I don't achieve it. So I'm wondering if planning is this important all the way through our lives, and really building this capacity to use planning as a tool to support kind of not only the structure you talk about, but a calmness in our nervous system that can lean into and rely on something. If we know this scientifically, and we actually know this experientially, we know this works, what gets in the way of that?
I would say in probably technology, if we're looking at what's happening right now, we get distracted. We get distracted with our phones or laptops or, devices. And what's happened a little bit, particularly because of COVID, is that parents found themselves as, parenting, caregivers, teacher, everything under one roof,
Mm.
and not really sure because they were never really given tools to be educators and to be at home with their child 24/7. Most parents had no idea what that looked like because their children had been in preschool and kindergarten since birth. So and if you were at home with three children of different ages with different expectations, it was really a struggle for parents.
Mm.
So technology was given out much more freely than it usually would be. And probably the rules changed a lot. If you normally allowed your child to be on their tablet or their phone for an hour a day, now it might be 3 hours a day.
Mhm.
And then they had to do homework online. And so they're doing homework and they're switching off the same way. which was not healthy, and we know from circadian health, if you're looking at having a good sleep pattern, you can't have technology for at least an hour before sleep time. So having, again, to instruct your child, or to at least guide them into making a good choice for themselves before bed. We know that blue light impacts the brain, and it doesn't lead to a good night's sleep. It's rather a broken sleep, not as restful as it could be if they've been playing a computer game or been online for an hour before bed. So the planning of bedtime is another important thing to do. And if they're very young, it's bath time, and it's story time, and it's cuddle time, and then they know it's sleep time. But because COVID really impacted children and families' family life, because there was no routine to go to school, you weren't getting up to get dressed, all of those things that we used to do was really impacted. So I think we're going to find ourselves starting from scratch all over again. And what's our new normal? At the summit in Boston, we talked about this, the new wellness opportunities. But I think our children will benefit greatly if the parents can make the decision that we have to reintroduce plans again and structure again, because we're finding too, as parents, our working habits have changed too. Some companies don't want you back in the office. They're like, okay, great, we're not going to pay for buildings anymore, work from home. And so we're trying to find our feet again. But I would say, as a word of advice, is absolutely find structure again.
So it's hard to pick the best snippet, but I really think that encapsulates a lot of what we've been going through together, is, regardless of age. And I'm so happy that we have Christine Clinton with us on the call. Hello, Christine. Do you have any additional reflections since your conversation with Renee? Christine, where'd you go? Are you muted? Oh no, she was here. Okay. Well, perhaps.
I see a Christine that is not on video right now. I don't know if that is Christine Clinton. Christine Clinton, if you are there, unmute. There she is. Can you unmute?
Oh, I think now she has two, so maybe she was experiencing some difficulties, even though we saw her before. Christine, can you hear us? Oh no.
Christine, you need to unmute your phone one too. And I think you sometimes have the issue with the video on the phone. Your mouth is moving, but we don't hear you because your phone is muted, but your computer is unmuted.
Okay, so perhaps while Christine is getting things sorted, since we did hear many insights from her during the conversation, I do just want to give her a shout out that she is really helping us drive not only the wellness moonshot, but also the children's moonshot. And this month, for the children's moonshot, the topic is breathe deeply. And she even shared this cute photo of one of her 3-year-old students getting in touch with her diaphragm to do very deep breath work. And personally, when I think deep breathing, the first person that comes to mind is CEO Sandy Abrams. She is an entrepreneur and breath coach and is the chair of GWI's Breathe Initiative. She is here to lead us in a breathwork exercise. Sandy, you're here, right? I saw you.
I'm here. Good morning, everyone. Oh my gosh, I want to give that little girl a hug. How cute is she? Oh my goodness. Well, since Christine had some technical difficulties, I will just touch on 2 points that she just made, which is that devices are something that we need to deal with, and with children especially, and that energy is contagious. So as we are all at home, or that we've been at home a little bit more for the past 2 years, it is important to keep your chaos internally managed through breath, so that your children can also feed off of a more calming energy in the home. So I loved her points about that. And I love the children's calendar. I know that there are no children on this call, so the talking points that I'm going to share with you right now are messages that you can share with any children, grandchildren in your lives, and to help encourage them to tap into the power of their breath, so that they can have a sense of agency about their emotions and their energy, and that they can understand that they have the power to get out of an uncomfortable moment. And there are easy ways to integrate tools like deep breath throughout the day easily with children. For example, while you're driving them to school or driving them to a friend's house, in the car is a great place to take a few deep breaths. Maybe while you're making their lunch or dinner, they can do a few deep breaths. It's so easy to integrate. We're going to spend a couple minutes taking deep breaths ourselves. But first, I just want to cover 2 or 3 talking points that you can share with the kids, which is the importance of inhaling through your nose versus mouth. When we inhale through our nose, we heat, we treat, and we filter the air that's coming into our body. So you can explain to kids that this keeps the germs and bacteria out when you inhale through your nose versus your mouth. And then the other thing is just what that adorable little girl was doing, was activating the diaphragm and the belly on the inhales versus the shallow, rapid breathing that kids often do, especially when they're attached to their devices. So those 2 points are really important, just to stress those. And then it's just all about sharing the tools with them. So get comfortable in your seats and let's experience just a couple of minutes of deep breathing. Close your eyes, maybe put both feet on the floor for grounding. Place one hand on your chest and one hand on that belly so that you can really feel your diaphragm activating, because we're going to start the breath down at the belly. Inhaling through your nose, let your belly actually protrude on the inhale. It feels counterintuitive, but let's give it a try. And then visually trace the inhale slowly all the way up to your chest to a count of about 5. And then slowly exhale, also to a count of about 5. And then again, feeling the breath originate down in your belly, inhaling through your nose. 2, 3, 4, 5, and slowly exhale. And again, notice the difference of slow inhale and exhale. Relaxation comes on the exhales, so you can encourage kids to even lengthen the exhale and make it longer than the inhale. And again, there's a quote that I love that says, "The mind is the king of the senses, but the breath is the king of the mind," from BKS Iyengar. So whenever you have a few moments of stillness during the day, or you have to create those moments of stillness, just pause and try to move from the shallow, rapid breathing, which causes stress, to just some slow, nourishing, deep breaths. And deep breath doesn't mean hard breathing. Deep breath means also slow, light, nourishing breaths. So I hope your children, grandchildren, friends, neighbors, kids, strangers, anyone that you can share this with will enjoy learning about empowering themselves to create their best mindset and energy in small moments with mindful breath. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy. So refreshing. So nice to have that as part of the call. And I love that it's the theme this month for the children's calendar. And I'm just going to check in with Christine. Did we get you back?
Yes, you have me now, and I think I have sound. I'm sorry about that. I really don't know what is going on. Technology is not my friend this morning. So yes, well, we talk about breath work with children all the time, and as you saw with that little photograph, we encourage the children to be out every day and to breathe fresh air every day, because we know that, again, in unison with what we've just done with that breath work and heard, is that, it helps to calm the children. It helps them to stay focused if they're having a difficulty focusing. We know that deep breathing can really help them both at home and in a classroom setting. We know that it reduces anxiety for them if they're anxious about a test or they're anxious about a change in their life habits. We're seeing that a little bit more too with children whose life patterns have changed because of COVID, possibly parents splitting up and one child has to go between two parents now. We're hearing that actually a little more than we had before. And before the pandemic, some relationships just didn't make isolation, I guess. So as a result, we are trying to get children to learn how to breathe in and obviously change simple things that they feel they have control of their lives when they often experience things that have impact on their mental health and their well-being. So we know that, again, this kind of breath work helps to strengthen sustained attention. So not just that they focus more, but it actually helps them to learn. So breath work's really important for all those reasons.
Thank you, Christine. And while we just have a minute more before the next segment, I do want to show off your breath cards that you sent to me.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
How beautiful.
So these are all hand drawn by our resident artist, Aggie, who's a wonderful Polish artist. But the children love the themes of the animals too. So we have a snake breath when they have to go snake and bring in a deep breath and let their breath out slowly. And they have their high five breath where they take a deep breath in and trace their fingers to high and low, deep breath in, exhale out. So we use all kinds of techniques, but the children love them and we enjoy using them.
Wonderful. And Sandy, you had something to add, please.
Wow, I love those. Christine, I want a deck of those. I wanted to answer Suzanne's question that she put in the messages really quickly, which was a great question, whether you exhale through your nose as well. And it is important to mostly inhale and exhale both through your nose. However, in small breath work practice sessions, it's fine to exhale through your mouth. I find that it really helps me to release more stress and tension during my breath practices when I exhale through my mouth. So on the exhale, you can play around with that. Great question. Thanks, Suzanne.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Christine. We appreciate having you both on the call. What a great start. Love it.
Thank you.
So, of course. So since our theme today is plan, not only does it have us thinking about how we can individually prepare for better wellness outcomes, but I was inspired to take this topic a step further. How can we anticipate and plan for the future of the wellness industry? That is the essence of the highly anticipated Global Wellness Trends report that is released each year. While we can't necessarily plan for these trends, part of predicting the future of wellness is having a pulse, an awareness, or foresight on what's to come. So I'm excited to introduce Susie Ellis, the chair and CEO of the Global Wellness Institute. Susie works closely with the trends and forecasting team all year long to spot the most innovative developments within the wellness world. And while planning and forecasting have their differences, I'm excited for her to share some forward-thinking highlights with us today. Over to you, Susie.
Thank you, Kendra, and I'm delighted to have this opportunity to talk about the trends in the light of planning, because I have always felt, and I loved tracking trends, that you can really make plans when you have more of a sense of what trends are. And what I know on our end is we spend an entire year researching the trends that come out usually in January or February for the next year. So I am very confident that people can really plan with those trends. So I'm just going to go through them very quickly. There's 10 of them, and I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully that will work. And I will help explain a little bit about how you can plan using the trends. So let me just, I always have to do this, and then Yes. Okay, so the first trend we called dirty wellness, the health of the world's soil, and the impact of soil exposure on human health become far more important. This is a big trend, and just a little secret so that you know, whatever our first trend is usually one that we have found is a very interesting, important, and maybe new trend. And so it's a good one to pay attention to. And this, you know, you've heard about clean wellness, clean beauty, and so on. But now there's a lot of emphasis on the soil. And think about a word called regenerative. That's a term that you're going to hear more and more about. And so how can you use this trend to plan? And by the way, the trend report is over 100 pages. And so there's lots of information about this. But you can plan, for example, for yourself to spend a little more time on a farm. You can plan a school trip to a farm. You can plan to go to a wellness resort that is farm oriented. And I am sure that Nancy, who is planning our Global Wellness Summit in Tel Aviv, we will have this trend on the agenda in some way. The next trend, toxic muscularity comes clean. And this is how bulging biceps and rippling abs have had a negative ripple effect on male body image. You know, we're very used to, in this context, you know, hearing about body image that's a woman's issue. But this trend, which is so fascinating, is learning that there's really a big issue for guys, especially teens. And they are affected by the very same things that the women's, you know, magazines are affected by. So you see, you know, in People magazine, Zac Efron or Hugh Jackman on the beach. And so that's the visual. And there's so many kids that will never have that kind of a body. And so there's really a male body image issue, and it's affected their mental health. And so there's a new male body positivity movement. How can you use the word planning? Well, in your business, maybe you can plan to address this issue. You might even just plan personally to speak with a young, you know, teen about this, and how his friends and how they talk about this, and just bring the topic up. So I think that's fascinating. From wellness tech to technological wellness is our third trend, and it's a fresh take on digital health. And Christine already brought this up in the little segment, that technology, you know, whereas we talk a lot about, you know, there's sleep apps, there's beauty apps, there's fitness apps, there's all these things that supposedly help us with our health. But what we really want to pay attention to is the fact that being online so much and engaged with technology isn't of itself maybe the biggest problem. So pausing is important. And how can you use plan with this? Well, you can certainly have your own time out from technology. You can personally at home have, you know, more rules, classrooms, weekends, perhaps taking pauses from technology. Planning those, I think, is definitely helpful. The next trend is what we call senior living disrupted, a wrinkle in time no more. And this is about the fact that you know, seniors, and some of you may have parents or grandparents, or you yourself are looking at retirement. What has happened in the past is there are a lot of senior living, age segregated models of senior living. And that's the part we're seeing that there's a trend toward that not being the case going forward, because that's not really all that healthy. We know that being in the wellness world, that intergenerational engagement is very healthy for us and for others. So planning for our retirement in a situation that is more helpful could be good. And just one aside, yesterday I spoke with Susan O'Connor, who lives at Serenbe, which is a wellness community. And what Steve Nygren, who is the founder, has done is he's added a new section to this, and it's all about fun. And Susan was telling me, she said, oh, I see so many children running. There's a new school. She said, it's so great to have more families. And that is a perfect example of planning. And this is something we should all do. And Steve has done. And, you know, that's a planned community. And they planned to have that intergenerational aspect. Number 5 is wellness travel seekers welcome. This is post-pandemic. We're finding that travelers are ready for adventure and engagement. So this is about the fact that as people are traveling, it's not always just about, you know, seeing the most things, having the most fun, you know, having the most parties. It's about some sense of purpose, some adding creativity, some intellectual aspects to connecting with indigenous peoples and so on. So the next time you plan a trip, maybe think about adding that, or if you have a school trip or a family trip, plan some personal growth into your travel. Number 6 is innovative tech closing the gender gap in medical research. Artificial intelligence, apps, and wearables collecting data for a wide range of women's health conditions. Now, here's a good example of how technology can be valuable and helpful. And in particular, maybe some of you know that a lot of research in the medical arena was done with men, not so much with women. And so now what's happening is because of technology, we can gather more information quickly. Like, for example, they can do a study with everyone that say has a period right now or this week, and you can ask questions and analysis can be done. So they're using technology, people who are online, to get real-time data. And so there is more, more results for women in medical research. So, you know, a plan idea, maybe plan to be part of that or to read more about it. Another trend is urban bathhouses and wellness playgrounds. These are affordable. Wellness is coming to a city near you. And this is just a fun thing to know about. We're seeing a lot more of this happening, places where people can go for a day and maybe the cost is $40 or so. It's more affordable than, say, going to a resort or, you know, some of the other more costly opportunities. So plan on that. The next generation naturalism, the return of self-reliance. We're seeing a lot of interest, obviously, in nature, having your own home gardens. That's something that you can plan, and I'm sure Christine does this with her children, you know, going to plan a trip to a garden or talking about growing your own fruits and vegetables. Health and wellness coaching gets certified. This is a trend we're seeing. Coaches trained in the art and science of motivating healthy changes have been the missing link. So the certification is the key thing here. There are certainly a lot of coaches out there, but now more of them are certified. So you can certainly plan to become certified, find a certified coach, market your certification if you are certified, and so on. And finally, the last trend we presented is wellness welcomes the metaverse. Health and wellness are attractive to the metaverse, which needs to diversify beyond gaming. So the one plan idea I suggest here is very few people know a lot of details about the metaverse because it's something that's in development. Whenever you can, ask kids to maybe talk a little bit with you about the metaverse, or put on one of those Oculus glasses and experience some virtual reality so that you can start becoming more versed in the metaverse. And that's it. I know my time is up, so back to you, Kendra.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Susie. That was great. And I just want to share a recap of all the trends because they're all so great. So you just have them in one glance. And not only do we release the annual trends report, which is so insightful and so long, so much detail in there, it's great. We have also challenged our 30 GWI initiatives to release their own trends. And as they are the experts in their sectors. So their 2022 trends have been submitted just this week, and we're excited to announce them very soon. So stay tuned for that. And now, up next, to remind us why we gather on the day of the full moon and to keep its enlightening energy top of mind, I'd love to introduce Nancy Davis, the Chief Creative Officer and Executive Director for the Global Wellness Institute, to share a moon moment. And I'll
Thank you,
unshare my
Kendra.
screen.
And yes, I plan to tell you about the moon. The next full moon is actually Saturday, this coming Saturday afternoon, April 16th, and appearing opposite the sun at 2:55 p.m. Eastern time. And my grandson, Isaac, whose middle name is Albert for my father, is obsessed with seeing the moon in the sky. He calls it Muna. And he's as confused as I am when it appears in the afternoon. I think of the moon in the night sky, so it's very confusing. The moon will appear on Sunday morning from the India Standard Time Zone eastward across the rest of Asia, Australia, and the Pacific Ocean to the international dateline. The moon will appear full for 3 days, making this a full moon weekend. So be sure you see it at some point. Now, I often tell you about the many names for this one beautiful orb, but rather than go through them all, I'll choose just a couple this time as it relates to holidays many of us will be celebrating in the next few days. This is the Pesach, or Passover moon. Pesach, or Passover, begins at sundown Friday, 15th, tomorrow evening, and ends at nightfall on Saturday, the 23rd. The Seder feasts are on the first 2 evenings of Passover. In the Christian ecclesiastical calendar, this is the Paschal moon, from which the date of Easter is calculated. Paschal is really the Latinized version of Pesach, so we're all connected. Generally, the Christian holiday of Easter, also called Pascha, is celebrated on the first Sunday after the first moon of spring. However, there are differences between the times of these astronomical events and the calendars used by Eastern and Western churches. This is one of those years where that difference actually matters. The Western Christianity will be celebrating Easter Sunday, April 17th, this Sunday, and Eastern Orthodox Easter will be a week later on Sunday, April 24th. For Hindus, this full moon corresponds with Hanuman Jayanti, the celebration of the birth of Lord Hanuman, celebrated in most areas on the full moon day of the Hindu lunar month of Chaitra. For Buddhists, especially in Sri Lanka, this full moon is Bak Poya, commemorating when Buddha visited Sri Lanka and settled a dispute between chiefs, avoiding a war. We need him now. This full moon is in the middle of the 3rd month of the Chinese calendar. It's near the middle of the holy month of Ramadan. So Ramadan is honored as the month in which the Quran was revealed, and observing this annual month of charitable acts, prayer, and fasting from dawn to sunset is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. You know, a month of charitable acts also seems like a very, very good idea, especially these days. And we like to bring the global information to you because we are such a global organization and people, even on this call, are joining us from all over the world. One personal note, last month, on March 18th, when we celebrated the full moon together, I shared that it was my mother's birthday. She would have been 97. Today, remarkably, is my father's birthday, and he would have been 99. My parents are never far away. I feel their presence every day in a variety of ways. And I think my dad is very happy when his little namesake looks up and points to the Muna. Now, I've run out of parents, so the next time we meet, I'll have something else to share. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I love, that was just, I'm so inspired from that. So global. I love that your parents are close as well. Very moving. Thank you for always having such an inspiring moon moment. Wonderful. So now it's time to hear from you, our lovely Moonshot participants. It's time for our group discussion. I think we're going to stay as a full group this time, just so we're not rushed in the breakout rooms. But I'm going to share my screen with the question that we're going to discuss. And you know, if you're interested in participating, you can use the raise hand function, or you know, the Queen's wave I also recommend. Or if you're a little shy and just want to share in the chat, you can do that as well. So the question today is, which wellness trend do you hope to see build the most momentum, and why? You know, we're thinking of the future, we're thinking of planning. It doesn't necessarily have to be one that Susie touched on today. It could be another trend that you have seen And perhaps these global developments will inspire your own personal wellness efforts, whether it's planning for yourself, your community, or your business. And we'll have about 10 minutes now to discuss with the full group. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Would anyone like to share? Anyone inspired? Ooh, the chat is firing up right now. Cornelia, Cornelia, would you like to share?
I'd love to. I'm wearing my house coat because I'm on the West Coast and I'm having my morning coffee, so I'm not turning on my video. The trend that I would love to see continue to catch momentum is the one around soil, because it's not sexy, it doesn't have that, and yet it has such a massive impact on the quality of our food and the taste of our food and just our entire planet and that relationship. So my congratulations and real joy that you've put it first.
I'll just add, and that one was written by Beth McGordy, and the thing I learned from that trend, and she just did such a great job with it, is that truly it is possible. We've been talking about, buying organic, but the reality is if the organic food that you're buying has not been grown in good soil, you might be eating empty calories. So the new regen certified is what she's talking about, is the future, so that when you are buying regen certified, then the soil has been has a lot of vibrancy to it. So I was just really enlightened by that.
I'm just going to chime in and add to that, because I live close to organic farms and I know the farmers, and the difference in the taste. I buy locally of really good food. I don't any longer buy imported organic. And you just have to go through a little bit of science, which is what you're referring to, and you see that the depletion of the value, vitamins and minerals, et cetera, in our food is staggering. So I love that. The BBC, you guys probably know this, the BBC 2 weeks ago was doing a whole joint venture support around regeneration of the soil. They had it in their lifestyle section. But I'll pass the baton.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cornelia. And when you share what trend you're interested or excited about, please, let us know where you're dialing in from. It's always great to hear where people are joining from. Seekin? Hello.
Hi. Yeah, it's Sikin. I'm dialing in from Toronto. I'm new to this community, so thank you for opening this up for anyone to join. And what struck me was just the inclusion of, both technology and also the power of pausing from technology. So I'm really curious and interested to see how we embrace both sides, balance both sides of resting from the screens, but also using technology to our advantage and to, spread the word about wellness, to help people feel better, make it more accessible for humans to be well. And, as a wellness practitioner, I'm really curious about how I am going to be doing that myself, because I find it to be a really interesting point of tension, maybe not point of tension, but conscious dialogue with myself on a daily basis.
That is such a great observation. And in that trend, one thing that was written about is that the future pausing, developing everyday technologies with well-being in mind, is about treating our tech intake like our food intake. Because, with food, we have the same kind of thing, we're tempted to, eat too much, or maybe the things that aren't so healthy. So we have to figure out a way to live with food that it can be very healthy for us. And I think it's the same thing with technology, that there's great things about technology. It can be very good for us, but we have a similar relationship that we have to be able to manage, not overdoing it. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting way to look at it.
Oh, thank you for that insight. I love that analogy. Appreciate that.
Thank you for sharing and for joining. Welcome, welcome. Allison Adams.
Hello, everyone. Susie, I am so grateful for it felt so comprehensive in the fact that we are just living in a time where now we are more interconnected than ever. And we have a time in which we can explore ownership, right? So I really appreciated how everything felt interconnected. But the one that is, I think gives that personal, the family, the business, value proposition, is the technology, is the ability to look at our technology to serve our health and our family and all of that. So I'm really grateful for the metaverse and putting it in the child's hands in terms of how they can explore, how their family can explore, how their grandparents can explore, just a truer sense of well-being. And I get very, very emotional just knowing that this is at our fingertips, and it's within our hearts and our minds to explore and to be connected. So thank you.
I feel very good about the fact that the wellness arena is so cognizant of the technology, because it is an important plus and minus. So, and actually that's one of the reasons we decided to add the metaverse, because, the wellness world has, in years past, maybe in the early years, been a little bit lagging behind in terms of technology. We were not known to jump on the technology bandwagon in the beginning. And in fact, at the very beginning, I remember when you'd used to go to, spas and so on, and basically their answer to technology was, okay, let's put your technology in a sleeping bag, or, turn it off and you're just not going to use it the whole time you're here. But that's not working anymore. It's important to learn to live with it. And so we wanted to encourage people to get involved with the metaverse, learning what it's about, and I'm happy to see that that's happening. I also thought it was interesting that Mark Zuckerberg, who, really talks a lot about the metaverse, naming Facebook Meta, they are very much, the metaverse is a lot about gaming, and they don't want to be just about gaming. And so they really like the idea of health being part of the metaverse evolution. So I think we have a good chance to be involved there.
Great. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Susie. We have time for about 2 more brief comments before we move forward. So I would say Suzanne and Judy, we'll hear from you, and brief commentary back from Susie, and we'll keep moving with our agenda. So Suzanne, over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm Suzanne from Calgary, Alberta, which is the traditional territory of the Treaty 7 region. And I have to echo what Cornelia said with the dirty wellness. There's just so many benefits of good soil. The studies that they've done on the brain health, just digging in the dirt, has the same effect on our brain as taking a Prozac. So it's just fascinating. And with kids, it helps with their allergies and immunity the more that they're exposed to the soil. And a friend of ours, that her dad was an old school doctor, he said every kid should eat about a tablespoon of soil to boost their immunity naturally. So I'm so excited about the dirty wellness piece. So thank you.
My mom, I remember when we were at the table, she served us a salad when I was young. And I pointed out that there was some dirt in the salad. And she just was incensed that I would point it out. And she said, eat the dirt, it's good for you. And now I realize why, just what you were saying, Suzanne. I mean, that helps us with immunity. And so, yeah, it's really an exciting trend to learn about. and to sort of incorporate and contribute to spreading the word about that when it comes to wellness, especially because the immunity issue has been so important now during the pandemic.
Wonderful. And Judy, last but not least.
Thank you. And I just always love coming together for the Moonshot, and I appreciate all of these wellness trends too. And I'm in San Diego, so good morning. I see all of these trends as vital, interrelated. But the soil, I think the soil may stand out a little bit more. And to speak to everybody's comment about dirt and the natural strengths that we get from the soil with the nutrients. I remember being a first-time mother few decades ago, and my son always had a cold, and my grandmother visiting him, and she said, "You need to let him get dirty." She said, "You keep your house too clean. Everything, I was so obsessed with keeping my son from being, in getting germs and getting sick. And you know what? She was right. Zooming forward, I let go of that obsession with everything being spotless and clean. And he was healthier. And I think that we became, there was a time in our society, our culture, where we were, and some of it was from the manufacturers of all these cleaning products, all these chemicals, telling us, to keep everything super clean and all that, which is important. But as Susie was just saying, we need some dirt in our life. That's how we build natural immunity. And I think that's really important with reconnecting with soil. And I do want to speak something that was said, I learned many years ago from a mentor of mine when I was in the media business, and about planning and the Moonshot. And he said, if you fail to plan, you are planning to fail. And it really struck me because I was not taught as a child how to plan and how to organize so much, although my dad was a great organizer, but I wasn't really taught. And those lessons that I learned from that mentor about having a plan, I think we need to plan to integrate each of these trends into our personal lives and into our business lives. We have to look forward. So that's why I always love to hear these trends, because it helps me think more about how do I take them and put them into action? How do I integrate them into my personal walk, my personal journey, and also the journey of my clients who I plan for. So thank you very much.
Thank you for mentioning that. And I'm so glad to hear it, because you can trust these trends. We spend a lot of time, and we've been doing this for so many years, that because trust me, we look at many, many trends before we decide on the top 8, 10, or whatever. So you can trust that these are trends, these are happenings, and therefore you can plan to incorporate them or to somehow just be more aware of them. So.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing. I'm sorry, Gianna, we are out of time for this segment, but you'll come to the next celebration, which is in June, and we'll get to you. I'm so sorry. But I'm now excited to announce our April Moonshot winner, Danelle Leach, who's on our call today, a familiar face on the gatherings. She will receive a 2022 Moonshot calendar. She's based in Canada, and she's the owner of Well on the Move. And I love what she had to say about planning. She said, "Plan gives room for purpose. Every act of wellness must be intentional, lest we be distracted with things that deplete us." Very wise, Danelle. And I know that you mentioned you're a little under the weather and you're just launching your business, so we might not hear from you directly today, but please wave. And thank you so much for joining us. And we love having you as part of our Moonshot community. So thank you. All right, and last, but certainly not least, we close our program with Lisa Fasulo, founder and director for the Center for Transformative Movement. Her Moonshot in Motion is a practice you can plan into your day to feel more grounded, playful, and open to what's ahead. Over to you, Lisa. You're muted.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So these meetings are so nourishing, and what we do in the Moonshot in Motion is come together and do a form of meditation that, if you think about it, yoga, which I also teach, is connecting with ourselves by drawing our awareness inward and finding that place within us or without us, whatever one refers to it. Another way to do that exact thing is to connect with ourselves through our awareness outward, in a sense, losing ourselves. And what I'm struck with the last part of this conversation is this is an ancient practice. It's a re-emerging and renewed practice that's been seen across cultures and throughout time. So it hasn't just come in out of the blue. It's following the free form or ecstatic dance, which is a form of somatic movement, meaning you do something physically and it affects your whole body, mind, body, is predicted to become the next health trend over the next 5 to 10 years. And with that is also predicted to, as when things come into the wellness scene, really revolutionize and shake up wide sectors of the wellness industry, likely yours. So always thank you again, Susie, Nancy, Kendra, Renee, for including this, because it's important to have fun, and it's important also for our wellness leaders to have their finger on the pulse, I think Kendra said that earlier, of what's coming. So with that being said, today we are going to dance to the instrumental version of the song Crazy. Crazy comes from the root word meaning to shatter or to break up. It also later was referred to as cool and exciting. So kids, as we talked about at the beginning, it's so important, as we heard, to have structure, but what embodies their structure is their play. So let's shatter some of our just day-to-day monotony we can all feel, and just rote ways of doing things, and bring in the cool excitement. So let's stand on up. And let's start by kind of mechanically just step